There we go. Part 2.
Okay. But I don't know when, this occurred that a separate entity had to be created to take school students, to transport them to like sporting events and extracurricular activities. But to me, it's wrong that, I think that those things should be considered part of the curriculum. That it's part of the learning process.
Yep.
And that, it's all that part of the nourishing your students and everything. And so I just think that it wouldn't be fair to blame. It wouldn't be fair to blame it on. You can't blame it on this government. You can't blame it
on the mechanic.
It's just this situation has been evolving for all the for decades, I guess, right?
Yep. And it took a tragedy to bring it out in the open.
It took a tragedy to bring it out in the open. You have this incredibly, terrible and remarkable confluence of events, right, that occurred. All sorts of something like that happening, that the odds, well, it's never happened. Nothing quite like that has ever happened in New Brunswick. No. So the odds are off the scale. Took all sorts of things to go wrong for that to happen. But to me, the responsibility, all the questions, the questions that are all being asked, I think, are all valid. They're all valid questions.
What do you think of the way the inquest's going?
I think that. You
think that the Coroner's Act should change?
I think that the Coroner's Act, just based on the fact, I know that the legal, that people in the legal profession have been requesting that it be revised, right?
For years.
And I'm not a lawyer. So this is just kind of like gut feeling. Is that I believe that if it's 100+ years old, that certainly it seems that it would be outdated, right? Now, this is the first inquest I've ever been to.
Have you?
Yeah, I've never been to another inquest. So I don't know. I have nothing to compare it to, right? In terms of if I'd been to one in some other province or somewhere, if it was handled differently,
true.
I don't know how to compare it.
Had a hard time to concentrate the first few days sometime? I did.
I was able to concentrate. The things that I think were difficult for me was kind of, I think it's part of that getting used to the acoustics of the room and things. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to hear.
Yes.
Because of there's a fan running.
Have you noticed that the Frenchmen are very loud? Have you noticed that? I noticed.
Yeah, well, but I've moved around the room. I keep moving around the room sometimes to try to get into a better spot where at least where I could hear where I could see the person that's testifying.
Yep.
Right, and then that way, I hope sometimes that I'm hearing things properly.
Yeah.
But it didn't take me. The only time that I felt that I felt really confused was during the testimony from the snowplow operator, and I think that the whole room was confused when the snowplow operator was talking about his role that night. And
I couldn't hear him.
Well,
it was confusing. It was back, forward.
There was an issue where there was a translation issue there.
Yeah. But he did cut off the translator a couple of times, saying, I never said that.
Well, yeah, I could tell. And in fact, I believe at one point the next day, when one of the other supervisors was was testifying. I might be wrong about this, but I think he was sitting behind me, and that guy was testifying in English, and he was sitting there, I think, as a spectator, so he understands. But if he feels more comfortable speaking in French, that's fine. But I understand that, but I couldn't quite. It disturbed me, or I just couldn't understand why that there couldn't be an answer given to, why there was no hard and fast answer to when the road was plowed there, right? What time he went by there. The best we can say, the best it seemed that he could say was that it was maybe about an hour earlier, about 11:10 p.m. And that would seem to fit in with if he was, I think his shift was 6.5 hours or somewhere around there, and he said that he had plowed. I think he said that he had plowed 6.5 times up and down, so that would come out to about 1 hour. So it does add up, but it sort of doesn't either, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like probably that's accurate, that he did plow 6.5 times. The other thing I think is that
one more.